hello again. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk series. And if you're new to our channel, I'm Doris, and this is my lovely husband, Anthony. Nice to have you on board. Like we said in our last episode, we'll be looking at something really interesting, which is romance in marriage and relationship. But first, I'd like my husband to tell us his perspective of what romance is in marriage.
Yes, let me start by saying how the dictionary defines romance.
Yeah.
It says it's a feeling of excitement. But I define romance as an expression of intimacy.
Yeah.
Let's now look at what the Bible says that connotes romance. Song of Solomon, chapter 4,
Yeah.
verse 9. New American Standard Bible. You have made my heart beat faster,
Wow.
my bride.
Wow.
You have made my heart beat faster with a single glance in your eyes.
Wow.
The profound King James Version says it more profoundly. You have ravished my heart, my spouse. You ravished my heart, my spouse, with your eyes.
Wow.
This goes a long way to show the importance of romance in marriage and relationship, irrespective of faith,
Yeah.
irrespective of religion. Romance is an essential ingredient
That's right.
in marriage and relationship.
Yeah, so today we've invited a lovely and beautiful couple. I love them both to tell us their perspective of romance in marriage. So today we are glad to have Mr. and Mrs. Ian and Stella Binder. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. So listen to what they have to say. Be blessed. Comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone you are in right now. My name is Stella, and together with my husband Ian, we'll be sharing with you all our perspective of romance in marriage. To begin, I'll first of all like to thank Pastor Anthony and Doris Emmanuel of Semafa Ministries for giving us this opportunity to share our thoughts with you all. Ian will do most of the talking today, obviously, because it's always interesting to get the male perspective regarding romance in marriage. But I'll pop in every now and then to share my thoughts as well. So I'll let Ian get to it.
Thank you. So hi there, my name is, Ian or Ian or Jan or whatever you want to call it. And I'd like to appreciate, first of all, thank Pastor Anthony and Doris for giving us the opportunity to speak on their platform. It's a privilege. It's not as if we're some kind of marriage experts or anything, but we might have some experiences that might help one or two people. So we're essentially talking about romance in marriage. Why? Because it is a very important aspect of marriage. And without that to lubricate the wheels of the marriage, a lot of marriages will crumble. I mean, a lot of us got married, and there was romance. It flowed naturally. And then 5, 10, 15 years later, we find ourselves like essentially grasping at straws, going through the motions because it's not as natural as it was
before.
back in the days. So we have to, put in some additional efforts and energy, in a bid to bring back the romance to what it once was. And it usually is not easy. Sometimes a lot of us just put our hands in the air and like give up and that's it. I can't do it anymore. And that's where we have a lot of trouble in the marriage. And there is a couple of things actually which contribute obviously in leading people to that point. We're going to talk about a few of them. We're not going to give you like the 5 rules or the 10 rules or anything of the sort, none of that. We'll just talk about a few points which affect romance and marriage and maybe how to better deal with that aspect in a marriage. All right, so the first thing I would say is children, kids have a way of changing the dynamic in a marriage. And like it or not, once kids come into a marriage, everything changes. And it's now up to you, the couple, you, the man and the woman, to adapt accordingly. And because obviously, as parents, a lot of the energy is not diverted towards
To the kids.
raising the kids, making them the best they can be. You work hard and you're trying to give them the best future possible. So a lot of energy and time is diverted towards that. And sometimes it takes away from the marriage, and people are not conscious. It might be conscious or unconscious, so people have to be conscious about that. And the second thing I'll talk about, I would say, which kind of can affect romance and marriage, is work, career, education. I mean, even though you marry someone, you still have your ambitions, you have your aspirations as an individual, which you want to accomplish. And definitely, you want to get the next promotion, the next salary increase, or you want to open a business, whatever it is, you want to go to school, get the next degree, and you find yourself putting a lot more energy and time into that, and sometimes forgetting about the romantic aspect of your marriage. And so these things come to really play a role, and we need to be conscious. Essentially, most of the times it has to be a juggling act. You don't place one over the other. They're each as important as the other. And one last thing I'll talk about in terms of what affects romance and marriage is change. And to me, this is really important because as human beings, we are constantly evolving. We're evolving beings. As we all know, the one constant thing in life is change. All right. So who she was 10 years ago is not the same person she is today. Who I was 10 years ago is not the person I am today. Look, I'm bald. I wasn't bald 10 years ago. So I'm bald now, and I've changed. And who you were 10 years ago is not who you are today. So essentially, we change. Every single day, we change one tiny little bit. You might talk to someone, you might read a book, you might hear something, you might watch something on the TV, and it changes your perspective about life. It changes your outlook on life. And so we bring that into our marriages. We take that around with us. It's who we are. And so what happens is that a lot of times we fail to maybe take this into consideration. And especially in marriage, I would say it is even more so pertinent because, especially for the ladies, from my perspective, it's a two-tier kind of change. You have the physiological change, all right? Childbearing, childbirth, and everything that goes with it, and then the psychological aspect. And I have the feeling, for the most part, the brunt falls on the ladies, all right? Because the ladies, they go through a lot of changes and all of that, and us, the men, don't seem to acknowledge that, okay, she's had kids, that's why she has stretch marks, that's why she's maybe gained some weight, and, all these things, and even psychologically, that's why she thinks the way she thinks. She's now a mother, remember, so there's that two-tier change which has occurred, and we as men have to adapt to that. We have to accept that, things are different. And so as evolving beings that we are, we should be able to adapt to each other's changes. We should accept that as a part of life and treat it accordingly, So in terms of how do we, for example, make our marriage, our romantic life, how do we make it better? I mean, we're going to talk about maybe three things, but it's not the be all and end all. There are other aspects. But for us, one of the first things actually is the love language, right? Yes, the love language is very important. And the love language, I'm sure you've heard this expression thrown around every now and then, but the love language is very important. It could be a spoken word, it could be an action, it could be anything. But it is important to study each other and know their love language. For example, I could see my neighbor who goes out and buys flowers for his wife, and she's ecstatic, she's over the moon. And I decide, I'm going to buy flowers for my wife as well, and she insults me all night, because obviously, it's clear I didn't do my homework. So what works for one person doesn't work for you. You have to find what works for you, what works for your partner. I mean, true story, this girl, some girl I know, some guy was trying to ask her out, and he bought her flowers. And she comes in and sees this flowers, and she's like, who died? Is there a funeral? So obviously he didn't do his homework. So we have to study each other, to learn what is it that makes you happy, makes you feel romantically appreciated. So we have to pay attention to those things. And the second thing I'm going to talk about is essentially friendship. You cannot have, to me, you cannot have a successful marriage which doesn't have as a fundamental bedrock friendship.
Oh, yes.
You absolutely have to be friends. It is that friendship that carries you through the difficult times, through the trying times, because believe me, in every marriage you will come through, you would go through trying times, you know. But if you have that fundamental friendship which you had established from the very beginning, it helps a lot in terms of being able to talk to each other, open up to each other, and just confide in your friend during those difficult times. So be friends. Rejuvenate that friendship which you had in the beginning.
Oh, yes.
Rejuvenate it, reignite it, and get back to the basics. You know, it's just basic things I'm talking about, you know, nothing complex here. And the last thing I will talk about is about humility, especially on the part of us, the men. You know, for ladies, it kind of comes naturally. But for us, the men, you know, you have to be humble. I see it three ways. You have to be able to say, I'm sorry. You have to be able to say, I love you.
Oh, yes.
You have to appreciate. And these three things are three things which take a certain level of humility. A lot of times, you find men going around, you know, doing all kinds of things, all kinds of gymnastics, you know, going to buy expensive gifts or doing all kinds of things. I mean, to
avoid saying
they're
I'm
good,
sorry.
you know, they're good. You know, you might do, you know, all the work which was left to be done in the house, which you hadn't done 5 years ago, or you go buying expensive Louboutin boots and all of that, and all kinds of things because you don't want to say I'm sorry, you don't want to say I appreciate you, you don't want to say I love you. But believe me, these three things, well, you know, in my perspective, they're some of the most important things. You know, as a man, you should be able to tell your wife, you know, acknowledge when you're wrong. It doesn't reduce your manhood in any way. You're not emasculated in any way. You know, just say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, and move on. She respects you even more for that. You know, tell her, I love you. I mean, tell her I love you. There's really nothing wrong with that. You know, train yourself. It's something you can train yourself to do. You know, I love you. And appreciate your wife. You know, personally, I believe appreciation, I mean, everyone loves being appreciated. So why don't we appreciate our wives? You know, you should appreciate your wife. Tell her, look, the person I am today, it's because of you. The successes I have come across, the successes I've had in my life, it's because of what what you represent, what you've done. We should be able to let them know what they bring, the importance they bring to our life. You know, what they bring to the table, a lot of times it appears like it's difficult for these things to be said, for these things to be acknowledged. But to me, to us, these are fundamentals, which, you know, when you get these things, for the most part, you have a marriage which is on the right track. You know, I mean, there are different things which come into play as well, but fundamentally, some of these things go a long way in reinvigorating your romantic life. It's not some far-fetched rules which you might be expecting. It's just these basic things, all right? So, I mean, I could talk about these things all day, but I don't know if you have anything to add.
Well, I could just add the fact that the atmosphere that exists in the home matters a lot as well. Yeah. Because if both parties are just ready to pick on each other, criticize each other, then we are not tolerant, we are not accommodative, all that, it just chokes any spirit of romance that can possibly exist at home. Yeah. So, in my opinion, we have to be intentional about it and put in the work that is needed to enhance that romantic atmosphere at home.
Yeah. So, good point. Thank you very much. You know, I mean, that's all we have for you. Thank you very much again to Pastor Anthony and to Doris, and thank you to all those listening. And we hope and pray that your marriages will be blessed and happier and everything you wish for them to be. All right. So thank you and God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you.
Wow. That was amazing. I hope you were blessed like we were blessed with that, with that lovely, explanation of what romance is in marriage and relationship. So next week, we are going to have another lovely couple. I love them so much. They'll be telling us their perspective of what romance is in marriage and relationship. You know what? If I were you, I'll not miss it for anything. So we'll be waiting for you in our next episode. Meanwhile, stay blessed, stay safe, and God bless you. Now, don't forget to share subscribe, and
Give
like.
us feedback.
Yeah.
Stay blessed.
Stay blessed. Bye bye.
Bye.